I'm a very traditional Jew. I had two Jewish parents. I was raised in a synagogue where I went all the way through confirmation. I then was ordained in the same tradition in which I was raised. I then work at that congregation. I work in the same kind of congregation. I've been very boring in my Jewish life. This is not the life story of our first ordinee. Joysa Winter has had quite a journey, which she will share with you, so I don't want to take her thunder. But what I do want to share with you is what my experience has been of having Joysa in our classes. Part of Joyce's journey included extensive rabbinical studies at another rabbinic seminary, the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, with which we in secular humanist Judaism share many ideas. The idea of Judaism as a religious civilization, the need for creativity in response to new circumstances. Where we diverge is our desire to say clearly what we believe, to say what we mean and to mean what we say. And what Joysa discovered in her journey is that life of integrity, that clarity of purpose, has a personal meaning too. It helps to provide meaningful ceremonies for others and also meaningful exploration for oneself, where you can find that sense of self-satisfaction of knowing you are rooted, you are solid, and you are living who you are. This has been part of Joyce's journey, which we will share with you. But what I found of Joysa in class is a conscientious student, a responsible thinker, a creative personality. Reading her thesis on how to teach Jewish values was fascinating to me. What a creative person to come up with all these ideas of ways to convey these concepts to students. I loved it. And so it's been a great joy to see Joysa grow into her rabbinate today, and I look forward to seeing her grow beyond today into a full-fledged and professional rabbi after a journey of many, many, many years. I invite to the stage Rabbi Joysa Winter.
My biggest regret with my journey over the last 12 years to become a rabbi is that I was not able to get to know many of you here, congregants of the flagship temple and our movement, as well as the many people who have made the IISHJ program possible. The board members, support staff, fundraisers, logistics of my own personal life, not the least of which was birthing two children along the way, made it difficult to travel to Michigan on a regular basis. I therefore did want to take a few minutes to let you know a bit about my background. But what I would then like to do is take advantage of this rare opportunity to have a captive audience. How often does one get the chance to stand with a microphone in front of over 100 brilliant, Jewishly passionate people? This is the first and perhaps the last time I will have a microphone before such an auspicious group of people, and I don't want to miss the chance to share a message. And just what that message will be, you'll have to wait about 5 minutes, and then I'll get to it. So about me, I live in Philadelphia, but I grew up in Colorado, and I'm proud to say that we are a fifth-generation Colorado family. My great-great-great-grandmother, Rebecca Perkins, left North Carolina for Colorado by covered wagon in 1865. Her daughter, whom she named Joysa Carolina, was 19 years old on the journey when, according to family legend, their wagon was stopped by a band of Ute Indians. Their leader, Chief Ignacio, was so struck with Joysa Carolina's beauty, he offered to purchase her for several horses, an offer that her father did not accept. Joysa Carolina would grow up, and in the words of the Torah, she would begin begetting. Joysa Carolina married a general who had fled the Confederacy, and together they begat Joysa Ethel, and she begat Joysa Elizabeth, who begat my mother Joysa Ann, who begat me, Joysa Maven, and the fifth Joysa, my daughter, Joysa Adiel, I begatted her 9 years ago. My mother, Joysa Ann, grew up not far from where the first Joysa settled, on a sheep ranch in southwestern Colorado, near the San Cristo Mountains. The silver Kiddush cup that my family uses every Friday night is a silver goblet that my grandfather won for having the best wool from his Rambouillet sheep in a contest in 1963. If you're thinking that this is a strange genealogy for a Jewish family, you are right, it would be. They were not Jewish. Darn, right? I know. They weren't Jewish on my dad's side either. The Winter family also immigrated to America in the 1700s, although from Germany instead of Scotland. After my conversion to Judaism at the age of 22, I held out hope that I might find someone Jewish, at least on the Winter side of the family. After all, there are both Jewish and Protestant families who have the name Winter. I even found a Rabbi Winter in a Jewish cemetery in Cuba, which was very exciting. But based on the number of ancestors I have found on Ancestry.com who were literally named Christian, my hopes have not come to fruition. Between my trip to the mikveh at age 22 and my entry into rabbinical school at age 35, I spent 13 years exploring the Jewish spectrum. While my conversion was in the conservative movement, my studies at the conservative yeshiva in Jerusalem wound up dampening my enthusiasm for conservative ideology, most significantly its relationship to halacha. While I went to Israel in my late 20s, eager to experience a Shomer Shabbos lifestyle, feeling completely open to the idea, the contradictions of Jewish law quickly became unbearable. The worst was when I realized the way the spirit of the law seemed to always be subsumed to the letter of the law. And here's an easy example. One of the laws of Shabbat is the prohibition against writing. Halakhic authorities have concluded that writing letters is akin to creating, and since creating is forbidden on the Sabbath, Jews are told not to write. So here I was in Jerusalem in that unheated yeshiva, spending 12 hours a day translating the Talmud and floundering through torturously long prayer services where I could never find my place in the Siddur. And I did that all day, every day, and when Saturday would roll around, virtually the only thing I was actually permitted to do was, you guessed it, more reading and more praying. The one thing that best constituted rest for my heart and soul would have been to do creative writing, but alas, that was not allowed. The entire experience wasn't a slow descent into madness for me. It was a really quite very fast one. I came home a semester early. I returned to the US and jumped ship to the Reconstructionist movement and began teaching Hebrew school in Reform, Recon, and conservative communities, and sought out every scrap of Jewish learning I could hobble together outside of a degree program. And eventually, when all of that failed to feel like enough, I made my way to the Reconstructionist Rabbinical Program, where I studied for 4 years prior to transferring to the IISHJ. It's remarkable in retrospect that after all that learning I did over those 13 years, and I won't detail them all, but trust me, it was a lot, I never learned about humanistic Judaism. I have a vague memory of a Moment magazine cover feature story about Jewish humanism, which there's actually copies in the library, Adam showed me, so you can check it out if you haven't seen it. It must have been 2 decades ago. But I never met anyone who affiliated with the movement, nor even realized, really, that there were humanistic communities to join. I learned about IISHJ through a rabbinical student who attended an American Jewish World Service program in El Salvador. I remember he attracted quite the buzz among the 30 or so other rabbinical students on the trip. What do you do on Shabbat if you don't pray with the Torah? I remember people asking that somewhat in disbelief. But the students were intrigued to learn about this small, little-known movement in their midst. What struck me as I learned more about humanistic Judaism is the fact that probably half of the rabbinical students I knew were humanistic Jews at heart. It's an open secret that Jews have the lowest attendance rate at religious services among all religious groups. And we also have the highest rates of agnosticism and atheism among any ethnic or cultural group in America. Moving to the Jewish humanistic movement didn't require me, nor would it require most American Jews, to change their fundamental beliefs. And this brings me to the message I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to take my 3 minutes of fame to share my belief and hope that humanistic Judaism has something unique and really quite revolutionary to offer the world. We offer a way for people to come together in supportive and dynamic community, engage in learning, share energy and resources toward common goals and dreams, And we can do all of that without hijacking our higher reasoning centers. 5 years ago, I took out an ad on weddingwire.com and began offering secular Jewish weddings. About 25 days a year, I have the immense honor of creating a ceremony for a couple embarking on what will be one of the most important enterprises of their life, a marriage, the creation of a family. You would be amazed at the relief 99% of these couples express when they discover that they can have a completely Jewish ceremony or a Jewishly rich interfaith ceremony without suffering through prayers and sentiments they don't believe. When they meet me, they come prepared to be disappointed at best, bracing for rejection at worst, and they leave feeling visibly relieved that they have found a way to have an authentic Jewish experience while staying true to their conscience. We have so much to offer people, and the challenge for all of us here in this room is, how do we get our message out there? How do we make our presence as a viable, lived Jewish experience available to the masses? I wish standing here I could offer some genius insight, a magic bullet that would solve all of our public relations challenges. But the truth is, I spent so much time in the past 12 years simply trying to get myself through rabbinical school, I haven't had the energy to tackle this greater challenge. But that is where I plan to spend my energies going forward. For the 20 or 30 years I may have left on this planet, this is what I would like to figure out. One axiom I remember learning in my college marketing courses is that the average person has to be exposed to a new product or idea 7 times before they'll go and try it. So the question for us is, how do we engineer those 7 contacts? How do we make 7 connections with each of the 5 million Jews living in America, and in particular the 80% who are unaffiliated and unconnected from Jewish institutions? These are the people who don't subscribe to the Jewish Review of Books and who are not stepping foot in a Jewish community center and seeing postings of events. How do we reach them? We have some awesome, progressive, and sophisticated ways of preparing their children to become bar and bat mitzvah. How do we let them know that? How do we get them to think of us when they are preparing a wedding, a funeral, a birth? How do we help them stop associating what they eat for dinner with how good or bad they are as a Jew, and to start reclaiming from Chabad their own voices as equal and valuable contributors of what it means to be Jewish? These are the kinds of conversations I would love to have with all of you. And to jumpstart the brainstorming, I'll offer 3 goals for what I imagine this outreach might look like. So goal number 1. Let's make sure that every college student in America, by the time they graduate, they at least know that Jewish humanism exists. How do we make that happen? I don't know. But college students are the ideal age to begin planting the seeds. Maybe our congregations can work together to come up with some kind of a college outreach effort, directly recruiting on campuses to invite college students to attend free humanist high holiday or Passover events. Or maybe we can create a Jewish Humanism Day. On the same day every year, young Jewish adults in all the communities around the country would go on an outing to a site of Jewish historical interest near where they live. Goal number 2, bolster name recognition for humanistic Judaism. Before unaffiliated Jews can find humanistic Judaism, they have to know we exist. Perhaps we can create a group of 10 or 15 outreach efforts. We need to give them a clear, snazzy name of some sort, who would share articles of Jewish interest and then coordinate our responses. We need our rabbis, our madrachim, the members of our boards, the teachers in our schools. We need all of you wise people who embody the lived Jewish humanist experience, writing in the comment fields at the bottom of articles and writing guest editorials in newspapers. When journalists forget to include people from our movement in articles that purport to show how the spectrum of American Jews feel about a topic, we need to pick up the phone and call the journalist who wrote it. Nicely, patiently, we need to express our hope that they will include us the next time. And finally, goal number 3, the creation of a secular humanist Siddur. One thing I learned from studying the history of the Reconstructionist movement was how, when they published a siddur, or prayer book, awareness and membership in their movement skyrocketed. There are many challenges to such an enterprise, of course, the first being how we would translate the word siddur. Getting permission to reprint the poetry and writings our communities tend to favor can be expensive and perhaps even prohibitively so. But given the free online platforms that exist out there now, sites like opensiddur.com, there might be others, perhaps we can think outside the box and come up with some kind of liturgical database that can be easily and inexpensively shared. The more we can create some homogeneity in the blessings and songs that our different communities use, the more cohesive we will become as an organized and growing movement. I offer these ideas simply as a starting foot, standing on one foot, as they say. And if any of you here heard an idea or have others that you would like to share, I always invite you to reach out to me and we can start talking. A few weeks ago, I ordered new business cards, and for the first time in 12 years, I got to replace the words student rabbi with just rabbi. That was pretty cool. On the back of the card, I printed my all-time favorite quote. It's from the movie Contact, and it's the scene where Jodie Foster's character meets the alien on a distant planet. It's the moment in the movie everyone has been waiting for, where they finally found out if all their efforts to find the alien race has worked. Jodie Foster meets the alien, and what is it that the alien had to say? Imagine it for a minute. If you were the writer of the screenplay, what would you have the alien say? The scenario is almost like a 21st century version of the Revelation at Sinai, right? What is the message the human race needs to hear? The person who wrote the screenplay, I'm convinced, must have been a humanist. I don't know if he was Jewish or she, but he must have been a humanist, because this is what the alien said. You are an interesting species, an interesting mix. You're capable of such beautiful dreams and such horrible nightmares. You feel so lost, so cut off, so alone, only you're not. See, in all our searching, the only thing we found that makes the emptiness bearable is each other. I have many people to thank. Thank you, my mother and my brother, my sister-in-law Linda, my godparents John and Jennifer, and my adopted late father Marvin Cohn for their support and encouragement all these years. Thank you, Adiel, my beautiful daughter, my son Zephan, who's not here. He's a little too rammy, he's 6. My 2 children for making life worth living. Thank you to my dear friends Ed and Marcus, who traveled both here today. Your emotional and material support has been invaluable. And thank you to the many great rabbis who were my teachers and mentors over the years. Most of them are not here, but I would like to honor their names. Mark Boone Fitzerman, Stephen Booth Nadav, Jim Eagolf, Miriam Jarris, Adam Shalom, Vivi Meyer, and Freddie Cooper. And thank you also to Drs. David Brodsky and Elsie Stern. And finally, a special thanks to all of the people behind the scenes who made my studies at the International Institute of Secular Humanistic Judaism possible. I am forever in your gratitude and debt. So thank you and Shabbat Shalom.
Ordination, there's 2 traditional rituals in our movement. The last signatures are, almost the last signatures are applied to these ordination certificates by the rabbis of our institute, and an embrace is the final smicha, the final ordination, to mark that transition. And so, with great pleasure, sign a little music, please.